Yeah, welcome to the first instance of the services Roadshow by Base4NFDI, where currently funded basic services pitch themselves in 10 minutes, followed by a non-public Q&A session. Our next basic service to be presented is Jupyter4NFDI, a service for JupyterHub in the NFDI. So the stage is yours.
Yes, thank you, Xenia, for the introduction. Jupyter4NFDI intends to be a central Jupyter hub. It could also be seen as a streamlined deployment if anyone wants to deploy it themselves, which sometimes may be good, but essentially we think of it as a central hub. This is why we have this subtitle. The slides have been prepared largely by Tim Kreutzer, and I'm doing the presentation today. Let's start with some definitions that you may not be aware of, and that many people, even who work with Jupyter hubs, labs, notebooks, or whatever on a daily basis, get confused every now and then. I think even the documentation sometimes gets it wrong. So at the core of Jupyter is the Jupyter Notebook, which provides a means to document your working with data as you go in an interactive environment. The originally coined term decades ago used to be literate programming, where you intertwine code with annotations, documentations, interpretations of the results, move on, and so on and so forth. So this is a Jupyter notebook, can be run locally, but it can also run and benefit from in larger environments, more powerful environments that provide additional hardware capabilities, and so on and so forth. Prototyping is another goal of these things, supported by the interactive environment. In all, it is in support of reproducibility, sharing what you did, and make things understandable for the next user of your notebook. Then there is the Jupyter Lab, which is a working environment, as you can see on the slide here. I should go like this, which you can see on the slide here, is akin to an integrated development environment or a working environment providing files and multiple notebooks, and as such is a container in which you can run multiple notebooks or a terminal or whatever else, and maybe even share with your coworkers. It executes the codes and serves the notebook interface in a browser. Yeah, the Jupyter Lab is the, so to say, next generation interface of what Jupyter notebooks originally were. It is extensible through various features and can be customized quite substantially. That's the lab. Now we come to the Jupyter Hub. All we've seen so far could easily be imagined as a single user environment, whereas now we go to a multi-user environment. So you serve a central hub that has a streamlined means to configure labs for individual users on various resource types, different data, and so on and so forth. So it's an inherently a multi-user platform to run Jupyter Labs in isolated environments. The benefit of this is you don't have to install any software locally apart from a web browser, which typically is available everywhere, apart from maybe a purely text-based interface. You can benefit then from the pre-configured environments, pre-installed environments, and pre-installed software. It is a means to provide access to various backends, which could be cloud resources that could be spread maybe across Germany or across Europe, wherever, or HPC resources, which is one of the aspects we cover in the initialization phase of the Jupyter4NFDI project, where we have so far enabled resources not only in Jülich, where the central hub is running, but also at the MPCDF in Garching, and currently in the process of onboarding resources at TU Dresden as well. And they are all it's a variety of resource types, which we have shown can work together and is an extension to the original JupyterHub model, to be precise. Yeah, it does provide for configurable authentication. You could have something as simple as username, password, but also an integration with identity and access management, which could be the IAM for NFDI. Currently, it's the Helmholtz AAI, and yeah, start Jupyter Labs on different systems. We found various, around 24 Jupyter hubs or Jupyter installations across Germany. Only 4 of them were really accessible to external users. All others were somewhat secluded in VPNs or with other entry barriers. Of course, they are typically only intended for a consortium or a specific target group. But what we really advocate is to have a central hub that is accessible to anyone, at least within the NFDI, maybe even beyond. So we do not see this as a replacement of the existing hubs, but a complementary service with the benefits that I mentioned on previous slides. Certainly the off-the-shelf environments that are possible. They could be used in support of training activities where all of a sudden you need many or more resources for many users maybe. So, and we certainly wish to integrate the resources that are currently made available through JupyterHub installations also in this central hub, and maybe have the administrators of these hubs go more in the direction of nicely running the resources. But this has to be sorted out. Okay, so the partners of the activity are TU Dresden, GWDG, GESIS, we at Research Center Jülich or Jülich Supercomputing Center, University of Stuttgart, and MPCDF. Our goal to why you should be using Jupyter4NFDI, you get easy access to resources. You can log in using your home identity provider, which is typically your university or research organization. Social IDPs, some are at least supported, certainly ORCID, which plays a role and has been mentioned earlier too. We do have a number of pre-installed environments that are ready to use with popular data science libraries and tools. An exclusive feature just recently added is repo to Docker, which provides binder-like functionality such that you can reference a remote repository containing a Jupyter notebook and maybe some additional information regarding required libraries. It will build a Docker image and run that as a container such that you can use the repository notebook in our infrastructure. It is highly customizable. We're always open to provide new configurations and features. We do provide a little bit of persistent storage. Naturally, there needs to be some additions in terms of how do we deal with when you migrate from one execution environment, say JSC, to another one, say MPCDF. But we are targeting some solutions for that in the future. Project phases and outlook. So we have started from the Jupyter JSC as a template for the Jupyter4NFDI service in the initialization phase, of which half of it is has about passed. This has been done and is available today. I have a link for it on the next slide. Provides some foundation resources in the cloud environment. We did not connect HPC resources there yet, but this is a mere matter of enablement, no more than that, because we have the template for that. The target of the initialization phase is to enhance and streamline the integration of external resources at other sites, like I mentioned, MPCDF and TU Dresden, possibly others. In the integration phase, which we are currently preparing, we want to onboard new resources, provide resources tailored for training courses. I mentioned that scenario before. Work with the feedback that we received from surveys, one of which is running currently. I sent around the requests for this last week. And of course, we'd like to promote the service to attract more users. And in the end, we'll have a solid production-ready service, centrally managed, with all features that one could imagine, with a very, very versatile front end that is, fun to work with, and external resources that can be made available through it. Just two screenshots and a link. So we have the hub.nfdi-jupyter.de, which you can access today. For the sake of time, I'm not going through the GUI, which I plan to. We also recently allowed for sharing, which gives me a connection to the knowledge graph interface and PID services, which could play a role here in terms of sharing and linking configurations of Jupyter Labs for reuse by other users. So this is possible today. Go and have a look at it. Before you maybe answer the survey, link on the next slide. I have to stay here for a few seconds, certainly, such that you can answer the question of how many of the existing Jupyter hubs we found to be inaccessible to a general audience. So whether it was 20, 24, or 4. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention. Here are some links to us as a team, to the project page itself, which currently is an inventory of existing services. The hub link has been mentioned on the previous slide. There is a survey open. Please only answer it after you tested our service too. And with that, I'm done with my part of the presentation and open for questions, of course.
Yeah, thank you, Team Jupyter. Thank you, Björn. We close the recording now and begin the non-public Q&A session.